Alina Ramos stared at the footage again. The clip had already gone viral. Millions of people had seen it. But her trained journalists, I caught something others didn't. Something Tom Cruise said as he stormed off stage. They can't bring that up. They don't know what's buried in Oslo. Oslo. Lena was a senior investigative reporter for Al Jazeera International, known for exposing global corruption. For her, those words were more than just frustration. They were a trail. And she followed trails for a living. She leaned back in her chair at the newsroom in Doha and opened a secure search system. Her fingers moved quickly. She typed in Oslo 2004 and filtered by diplomatic meetings, church groups, private security. Contractors. Nothing stood out at first. Then she found it an old unentry private interfaith dialogue summit. Oslo, November 2004. It listed high-level names from several countries. Diplomats, others private figures. The most unexpected among them. Thomas Mapother, for Tom Cruise's legal name. She clicked on the attendee list. Next to Cruise's name was the organization he represented, a group often referred to as a church, but known for its aggressive secrecy and influence across Hollywood and Washington. Elena's expression hardened. She had investigated this group before, but hit a wall every time. Until now. Call Geneva, she told her assistant. Ask if any video or transcript from that summit was ever archived. Within hours, she got her answer. A UN employee, retired, now living near Lausanne, agreed to meet. Alina packed her bag and boarded a late-night flight to Switzerland. The man's name was Henrik Miles. And he looked both nervous and relieved when Alina arrived. They never thought anyone would ask, he said, handing her a sealed envelope. Inside was a small USB drive and several printed documents marked internal review only. Back at her hotel. Alina plugged the USB into a secure laptop. The first file was audio recorded from inside the summit's private meeting room. She hit play. Agreed. The program will be presented as a psychological framework, said an American voice. We'll use high-profile figures. No names on paper, no tracks. Another voice responded, British, calm, rehearsed. And if questioned, a silence. Then the first voice again. They'll deny. It's only dangerous if the actor talks. The actor. Alina skipped forward. Another line stopped her cold. Operation Meridian will shift public behavior through emotional triggers delivered via media icons. Influence without permission. Power without trace. She froze. The summit wasn't about faith. It was about control. She clicked on a PDF. The title. Project Meridian, Strategic Cultural Redirection. Pages outlined a joint effort between unnamed intelligence agencies, corporations, and cultural influencers to subtly alter public opinion. Through scripted narratives, movies, interviews, even celebrity scandals. The plan was international, long-term, and chillingly effective at the center of it. Whether knowingly or not, Tom Cruise. Elena's hands trembled slightly. She had spent years chasing warlords, exposing corrupt ministers, and crossing borders. With hidden cameras, but this was different. This was invisible warfare. And it was working. She needed a second source. She remembered a name from years ago, Ray Navarro. Cruise's former private bodyguard. He had disappeared after a fallout with the organization in 2010. Rumors said he was living off-grid in South America. Alina reached out to a fixer in Argentina. 2 days later, she got a location. Not exact, but close enough. A small town in Chilean Patagonia. She traveled again, this time quietly, without alerting her editors. She didn't trust anyone yet. The house was modest. Wood walls, no security, no internet. Ray Navarro opened the door with a shotgun in hand. But when he saw her press badge, his grip loosened. I knew someone would come one day, he said. You with the government? No, Alina replied. I'm with the truth. He let her in over tea. Ray explained what he saw during his years protecting Cruise. He never knew the full plan, Ray said. But they used him. public missions, charity visits, global speeches. Not for faith, for influence. It called it cultural diplomacy. I called it propaganda. Why didn't you say anything? I tried. Got followed, got blackmailed, they ruined my name. Alina showed him the USB files. He nodded slowly. Yeah, that's real. But if you go public, they'll come for you too. She leaned forward. Then help me do it the right way. Hooray? Gave her one last thing, a name. Eva Lindholm. Swedish intelligence. She was at Oslo. She knows more than anyone. Back in Doha, Alina published a teaser report. Just enough to stir interest. No names yet. No direct accusations, just one headline. What was really said in Oslo? The hidden script behind celebrity power. The response was immediate, within 24 hours. Her encrypted inbox flooded with messages. Some warned her to stop. Some asked her to keep going. But one stood out. A message with no subject. Just 5 words. You're getting too close, Ramos. The train to Stockholm moved silently across frozen ground. Lena Ramos stared out the window, her thoughts racing faster than the train itself. Ray Navarro's warning still echoed in her. Ears Eva Lindholm knows more than anyone. Alina didn't waste time. She used contacts in Geneva to locate Eva, a former Swedish intelligence officer who retired under mysterious circumstances in 2006, just 2 years after the Oslo summit. She now lived quietly in a suburb outside Stockholm, rarely seen in public. As Alina arrived at the house, a woman in her late 60s opened the door before she even knocked. You're the journalist, Eva said flatly. They're watching you already. Come inside. The house was modest, full of books and old paper files, a quiet life hiding dangerous memories. I only have one question, Alina said. What was Project Meridian? Eva raised an eyebrow. You already know. What you don't understand is how deep it went, or how many people sold their silence to keep it buried. She led Alina to a dusty cabinet and pulled out a file labeled M clearance only. Inside were old memos, faxes, and meeting transcripts. Alina read carefully. One memo stood out, dated December 2004, marked Confidential Joint Cultural Initiative. US EU Private Alliance subject has been evaluated. Target demographics respond favorably to emotional resonance. Mission parameters confirmed for first phase. Cinema, press, public appearances. The subject was identified only by initials TM Tom Cruise, Alina whispered. Ava nodded. He was their model. Not just him, but he was the first. They studied how people followed him, his charisma, his discipline. Then they weaponized it. Did he know? Not at first. But I believe he figured it out eventually. When he tried to pull away, they reminded him of everything he'd done while under their watch. Elena's voice shook, and now he's cracking. Eva sat down slowly. It's not guilt, it's fear. He knows the moment someone proves he was part of it, even unknowingly, he becomes the scapegoat. He walks out of one interview, and suddenly, the machine starts to glitch. Lena placed her recorder on the table. Then tell me everything. Eva agreed under one condition. She would speak on record, but not live. Too many people still had power. Alina promised to protect her. Identity until the time was right. Back in Doha, Elena's newsroom buzzed with nervous energy. Her teaser report had shaken something. Government PR offices sent legal threats. Intelligence agencies denied any knowledge of Project Meridian. Cruz's representatives released a cold statement. Mr. Cruz has no knowledge of any classified operations and firmly denies all conspiracy-related accusations. But that same day, a leak appeared online. A short video, shaky, dark, but real, Tom Cruise inside a secure compound. Talking to someone off camera, they told me I was a bridge, a messenger between people and something bigger. I thought it was faith. It wasn't. It was control. The footage hit 20 million views in 2 hours. Alina didn't leak it. Someone else did. She reached out to her contact at Witness Seiko, a global whistleblower platform. The founder, an ex-NSA tech named Julian Hart, confirmed the clip was legitimate. It came from a private IP in Iceland. Same server farm linked to Meridian's encrypted comms. That was the second time Iceland had come up, first from Cruz's own mouth in Vienna. Now from the video source. Julian said something that chilled. Alina, we traced another drop. It hasn't gone live yet. You should see it first. The next file was longer. A surveillance tape from the Oslo summit never seen before. In it, a group of people sat around a table. The camera angle was low, maybe from a hidden recorder. A tall man with an American accent spoke. We can't win hearts through war, but we can shape them. Give them heroes, give them icons, build belief systems through stories. Every generation has its prophet. We just pick ours now. At the far end of the table, Tom Cruise, younger, more trusting, nodded slowly. He didn't speak, but he didn't leave either. Alina pressed pause. She felt sick. It wasn't proof of guilt, but it was proof of involvement. She had enough now to publish a full expose. But she hesitated. The leak was dangerous. Releasing it would risk lives, reputations, and stability. Her editor called Alina. We've received a direct message from someone claiming to be from U.S. intelligence. They say this isn't about one summit. It's about a system, and it's still active. She turned back to her computer. A new message had arrived. No sender listed. It's just a subject line. If you release the tapes, you won't just destroy Cruz, you'll light the fuse on. Something you can't control. And in the body of the email, one sentence. Reykjavik holds the master. A storm rolled in over Reykjavik. As Alina Ramos stepped off the plane, the wind cut across the airport tarmac like a blade. She pulled her coat tighter and walked quickly toward a waiting car. Her mind was racing. The last message had changed. Everything Reykjavik holds the master key. She didn't know who sent it, but she believed it. Inside her encrypted laptop were files, videos, names, enough to shake governments. But what lay in Iceland, according to that message, was something more dangerous. The master key sounded like a final piece, the one that could unlock everything behind Project Meridian. She had arranged a meeting with a local tech contact, a woman named Katla Johnstadtir, a former cybersecurity analyst who now worked for NC, worked for private firms protecting journalists and whistleblowers. Katla met her in a quiet cafe near the old harbor. She looked nervous. You're late, Katla said, sipping black coffee. And you're being followed. Alina didn't react. Many. 2 men, same car. Parked across the street. Military bearing, not local. Alina took out her laptop. Then let's move fast. She showed Katla a map of Iceland, zoomed in on a remote facility northeast of Reykjavik. It was registered under a shell company, one that had also appeared in the metadata of Cruz's leaked Vienna video and the Oslo summit files. This place, Alina said. It's where the files lead. Katla frowned. That's an old NATO comm station. Supposed to be decommissioned. Not, Alina said. I think it's where they stored the psychological models. Katla hesitated. The simulations. Alina nodded. Project Meridian wasn't just about using celebrities for influence. It was about mapping the human mind, creating behavioral models based on global data, using emotional triggers to steer populations. The goal wasn't just control. It was predictive influence, knowing what people would believe before they even knew it themselves. With Katla's help, they rented a secure SUV and drove through snow-covered hills into the Icelandic wilderness. Fog hung low over the land. Ice cracked beneath the tires. For hours, they saw no other vehicles. Then, just before dusk, the station came into view. A squat concrete bunker, steel doors, no visible guards, but Alina knew better. They parked a short distance away and approached on foot. Katla used a signal scanner and picked up weak activity. "Someone's inside," she whispered. They entered through a side entrance, a rusted service door that Katla bypassed with a custom device. The hallway inside was dark, cold, and humming softly. Elena's flashlight flickered over walls lined with cables and servers. Still blinking quietly. Then they found it. A server room labeled M-Core, Intel Strategic Asset. Inside were racks of hardware connected to a single terminal. Ketla plugged in a decryptor. After 5 long minutes, screen blinked on. A file directory appeared. Meridian_main, behavioral_trend_models, subject_profiles, celebrity_narrative_scripts, propagation_MAPs. They opened the last one. It displayed a global map with colored paths, stretching between countries, cities, social media platforms, and movie release schedules. Each region had embedded emotion tags: fear, hope, shame, glory. Attached were faces. Not just Tom Cruise, but others. Politicians, actors, influencers. This was the system. Project Meridian didn't just use celebrity stories, it engineered them. Coordinated emotional triggers, predicted reactions, redirected political discourse through entertainment, and Tom Cruise had been the original model. The prototype. Katl aghast. This isn't just manipulation. This is predictive propaganda. Elena copied the files to her drive, but before they could leave, alarms blared. Motion sensors. "Run," Katla shouted. They sprinted back into the hallway. Red lights flashed. A voice over the intercom shouted in English, "Stop where you are." They reached the SUV just as a black vehicle roared down the icy road behind them. Katla drove hard, tires skidding as they raced away. Elena clutched the drive to her chest. By the time they reached Reykjavik, it was midnight. They hid the car and took shelter in a safe house run by Witness Echo. Elena immediately uploaded the core files to 3 secure nodes across the globe. She encrypted copies with multiple keys. Then she sent one message to her editor: "We have it. But when we go live, they'll burn the world to bury this." The next morning, The View aired a surprise segment. Joy Behar, back from suspension, looked straight into the camera. "I've been told not to speak. Threatened. Labeled a troublemaker. But the only trouble I see is the silence." Then she held up a printed page. "Project Meridian. You heard it here first." The screen cut to black. Across the world. Elena's report dropped seconds later. Headline: Project Meridian, How Celebrities Became Weapons. Within minutes, #Meridian Files was trending in 52 countries. But Elena wasn't celebrating, because as she looked at the master file, new folder appeared at the bottom. Brashi clicked. Inside were signed documents, authorizations from world leaders dating back 20 years, and in bold red type at the bottom, active. She stared in silence. The system wasn't history, it was still running. Chaos hit within hours. Governments denied everything. News channels scrambled. Celebrities mentioned in the Meridian files posted vague statements or went silent. US officials accused Al Jazeera of irresponsible journalism. A Pentagon spokesperson called it a fabricated psychological operation designed to destabilize Western trust. But it was too late. Elena Ramos had released the core of Project Meridian to 3 independent international outlets. France 24, Der Spiegel, and The Guardian had already confirmed portions of the data. The files were real, painfully real, behavioral. Maps, emotional scripts, global influence campaigns based on social fear and artificial loyalty. All of it managed by a system that used trust in celebrities as its weapon. Tom Cruise's name was everywhere, not just as an actor, but as a test subject. On The View, Joy Behar faced intense backlash. Her producers begged her to stay quiet. But the next night, she returned not for interviews, but for war. "I've worked in media for 30 years, she told her audience. "I've seen stories shaped, I've seen pressure. But never Like this. This wasn't about faith or fame. It was about control. We played along. She pulled out a folder labeled Propagation_North_America. This document lists emotional events tied to film releases and media moments. Elections, protests, military campaigns. It even marks which interviews were engineered to steer public feeling, including mine. The crowd went silent. Joy didn't blink. "I may not be a spy," she said, "but I sure as hell won't be a puppet." Online reactions exploded. Half the world cheered. The other half accused her of treason. But the truth was out now, and no one could put it back. Meanwhile, Alina received another anonymous message. It came from inside the intelligence community. This time, no warning, just a location. Vienna, Swiss Embassy, Saturday, 8 p.m. Bring no one. Katla, her Icelandic tech ally, begged her not to go alone. But Alina had made up her mind. The next evening, wrapped in a heavy coat, Alina arrived at the quiet embassy corner in Vienna. She waited near the outer gate. A man appeared. Early 60s, gray coat. No expression. He handed her a folder. No words, no names. Then he walked away. Inside the folder were documents titled Operation Libra Global Strategic Initiative. Unlike Meridian, Libra was broader. It wasn't about celebrity narratives, it was about coordination between governments, private, data firms, and psychological labs. Together, they built what they called the Influence Grid, a live network capable of predicting civil unrest, manipulating economic behavior, even pushing or pulling military support among voters. Meridian had been the pilot project. Libra was the full machine, and it was active. The most shocking part? The signatories' documents showed signatures of leaders from countries that claimed to be rivals. Us, UK, Russia, France, China. Enemies in public, partners in secret. Alina stared at the pages. Controlled chaos, she whispered. She flew back to Doha the same night. Sleep was impossible. Every step now felt like walking on the edge of a cliff. Her editor greeted her with a tight expression. "You're being watched. We intercepted 2 phishing attempts on your devices. Don't stay in one place." But Alina couldn't stop. She had crossed too far. She gathered her notes, recordings, USB drives, everything. She created a new final report.1 that didn't just name Tom Cruise, one that named the system Katla, helped her build a live encryption lock. If anything happened to Alina, the files would release automatically to major outlets and human rights groups around the world. The title of her final report, The Influence Grid, the hidden system that runs the narrative. Before she published, Alina did one last thing. She sent a message to Cruise through an encrypted contact chain. She reached his personal lawyer. The message was simple. You were the prototype. You were used. But if you speak now, you might save more than yourself. She didn't expect a reply, but one came 2 days later. A private link. Password protected. She opened it. Tom Cruise sat alone in a dim room. No lights, no makeup. His voice was quiet, unsteady. "I joined them because I believed in something bigger than myself. I thought I was helping people, inspiring hope. I didn't know they were using me to test control." He looked straight at the camera. "I can't fix what I did, but I can admit it. And maybe someone else will have the courage to break the chain." He paused. Project Meridian wasn't the end. Kibra is still running. Don't believe what you see. Question everything. The video cut to black. Alina uploaded it as part of her report. Elena's screen turned red. A cascade of warning messages flashed across her encrypted dashboard. Source nodes compromised. Data tunnels blocked. Counter-narrative active. The Influence Grid was not just watching. It had begun to fight back. Katla slammed her laptop shut. "They've activated suppression protocols, deepfakes, misinfo storms, bot swarms, the full playbook." Within seconds, social media exploded with false stories. Cruz's confession. Deepfake Alina Ramos, paid by China. Project Meridian. A hoax exposed. It was a flood, fast, strategic, overwhelming. Thousands of identical messages suddenly repeated across fake accounts and anonymous pages. The same words, "Don't trust the leaks." Even major networks began to shift tone. CNN featured a cybersecurity expert questioning the authenticity of the documents. Fox News ran a segment calling it an orchestrated global smear campaign against Western stability. BBC aired a former CIA official who said, "None of this holds up under scrutiny." But Alina knew what this was. It was op libra. It wasn't just about making people believe lies. It was about making them doubt the truth. She turned to Katla. "We have to go back online. Hit the backups." Katla shook her head. "They're hunting server locations. We've got maybe 1 hour." Then the power went out. It's total darkness. Katla grabbed her emergency phone. No signal. Alina's laptop died. For the first time in weeks, she felt something close to fear. "They're here," Katla whispered. Outside, through the safe house window, Alina spotted 2 black SUVs rolling. Slowly down the narrow street, lights off, silent tires. They grabbed their bags and ran through the back exit, disappearing into the alley. Alina had memorized the city layout. They took side streets, ducked under bridges, crossed frozen canals until they reached a forgotten train station on the edge of town. Inside, Alina pulled out a burner drive, one final backup of the op libra documents. "We send this from the university lab," she said. "Public terminal, no trace." They arrived at the university's abandoned IT lab just after midnight. The building was empty. Echoes bounced off the tiled walls. Dust covered the desks. Katla booted an old desktop and bypassed the firewalls. Alina loaded the drive. She didn't hesitate. She uploaded the files not to newsrooms this time, but directly to the darknet. From there, a whistleblower network would spread the files to hundreds of independent investigators, data miners, crypto journalists, and former intelligence dissidents. The upload completed. Transmission successful. Katla smiled weakly. It can't be stopped. But Alina wasn't smiling. "No," she said. "Now the real storm begins." That night, the world began to split. Some believed, others denied. Protests grew. So did violence. Major cities reported sudden blackouts. Mass confusion followed. And then came the diversion stories. Alien contact in Brazil. Bank hackers seized $3 billion in crypto. Tom Cruise missing after mental breakdown. Distraction after distraction, each one designed to steal attention. The influence grid didn't need to destroy the truth. It just had to bury it. But something unexpected happened. A group of retired intelligence officials released their own confirmation. Anonymous voices, blurred faces. All speaking the same words on a shared live stream. "We helped build Project Meridian. We tested its reach. We signed off on op libra. We thought we were protecting order, but we created the illusion of choice." One added, "This isn't about Cruz, it's about everyone." The broadcast lasted only 8 minutes before it was shut down. But the damage was done. For the first time, people who had power were admitting they'd abused it. Alina returned to her hidden room and began writing again. Her next piece was not about evidence. It was about consequence. She wrote, "This is the age of narrative warfare. Not missiles, but memory. Not bombs, but belief. We have let a system turn our emotions into weapons, and we loved it because it entertained us, because it felt safe, because it was easy. But nothing about this is easy anymore." Then she signed it with just her initials. ER. Meanwhile, back in Los Angeles, something strange happened. A man claiming to be Cruz's former personal therapist came forward. He wasn't seeking fame. He didn't give his real name, but he did provide something else, a journal. Cruz's journal, handwritten, Inside were dozens of pages, some angry, some broken. One line repeated again and again. They needed a face. I gave them mine. Another read. I played the hero. But the real villain was never on screen. The journal went viral. Not as propaganda, but as human truth. For the first time, people stopped arguing over whether Cruz was a villain or a victim. They began asking who built this, who allowed it, who's next. In Washington, closed-door meetings began. In Brussels, European leaders met to review media oversight laws. In South Korea and Argentina, new investigations were launched into emotional influence technologies. Something had changed, but not everything. Because as Alina watched the chaos grow, as she listened to sirens and chants in the streets below, she knew the grid wasn't dead, it was wounded. And sometimes that made it even more dangerous. Katla looked up from her screen. There's a new alert. Lena leaned over. A single message blinked on the monitor. Influence grid initiating Phoenix protocol. She whispered, they're rebuilding. Caitlin nodded. But now, so are we. The streets of Berlin were burning, not with fire, but with questions. With tension, with something deeper than anger. People stood in front of screens in shop windows, reading headlines they didn't understand. Watching footage they no longer trusted. Listening to voices that used to comfort them, now sounding hollow. Alina Ramos watched from a cafe near Alexanderplatz. Her hood was up, her laptop dim. News poured in from every continent. The Aplibra leak had changed everything, not by answering the world's questions, but by exposing just how many questions no one had dared to ask. Behind her, protesters marched. Some carried signs calling for truth. Others screamed about mind control, conspiracy, collapse. And somewhere in the noise, a familiar voice played over a passing speaker. Tom Cruise, his words. From the leaked confession, repeated again and again. They needed a face. I gave them mine. He hadn't appeared in public since the video. Rumors swirled, rehab, exile, house arrests, but no one could confirm anything. Even his closest allies had gone silent. Katla joined her at the table. There. Rebuilding it, she said. The Phoenix Protocol. They've already started redirecting media energy. New crises, new stories. Alina nodded. I know. They've learned how to adapt faster. But they made one mistake. Katla raised an eyebrow, which was, they made us look. The real victory hadn't been the leak itself. It was the awakening it caused inside. Journalists, activists, even ex-intelligence officers. They couldn't hide behind the system anymore. A curtain was pulled back, and millions saw what was underneath, across the globe. Unexpected alliances formed. A coalition of truth platforms launched under the name Signal Line Journalists. Technologists and whistleblowers working together to trace, expose, and block. Emotional manipulation in real time. It was messy. It was raw. But it was real. Signal Line didn't try to control narratives. It just revealed where they were being controlled, and that was enough. But Aplibra wasn't finished. A new celebrity scandal hit the next day. A global leader resigned in disgrace. A sudden terror plot was foiled in Spain all too neatly. Alina recognized the patterns. Distraction, realignment, silence. Still, people weren't looking away this time. The leaks had changed their vision. Back in Doha, Alina returned to her office for the first time in weeks. Her desk was exactly how she left it, except for one thing. A package dot. No return address, no stamps dot. Inside was a flash drive. And a letter. The letter was handwritten. It's 2 lines. He asked for it to be given to you. If you still believe in redemption. She plugged the drive in carefully behind a Faraday shield. A video opened. It was Tom Cruise, sitting on a cliffside. Wind in his hair, no music. No lights, just him. I don't know who I am anymore, he began. Not really. I thought I was in control. I thought I made my own choices. But it was all part of something bigger. His eyes were tired, honest, I was part of Project Meridian. I didn't write the scripts, but I lived them, became the thing they needed, charming, clean, unshakable. Even when I had doubts, I kept going. Because the alternative meant admitting I'd been used. He took a breath. But now the world knows, and I don't care what they do to me next. The camera shook slightly. Someone else was filming, likely a friend. Cruz turned to the side, looked out at the ocean. Tell them this isn't just about me, or movies, or media. It's about every system that profits from silence. And the only thing louder than a lie is truth. The video ended. Alina sat back, not in triumph, not in peace, but in understanding. They hadn't won, but they'd started something. Rippo. Weeks passed. Governments formed independent oversight councils. Social media platforms introduced emotional labeling, warning when a post was crafted to manipulate. New algorithms were built in the open. Cruz's confession became required viewing in journalism classes, and in an unexpected move, The View launched a special series called Echoes of Meridian, inviting journalists, artists, and whistleblowers to share stories about how manipulation shaped their careers. Joy Behar became a national symbol of resistance, but the grid didn't. Vanished. Its power just changed form.